You're looking fresh, man.
Man, I'm just trying to stay cool for my kids so they don't say I'm an old man, bro. That's it.
Keeping up with your Instagram stories and posts.
Yeah, always.
You're doing a lot of things with the kids, man.
Every day. Yeah. They good though,
Awesome.
man. Got my daughter from Atlanta the other day. So yeah, they good Christians, man. She get to see her, grandmother, everybody in the family. So that's what it is.
How's your pops doing? I know you look at your pops. You post stuff
You doing good,
with you as
man.
well,
Pops,
probably.
Pops enjoying the holidays. I'll say that. Pops is enjoying the holidays. It's good. Doing good though.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, man. So nice to have you on again, man. Always good to talk to you. And so we're starting this new series.
Yeah.
We're calling it Dunk Dynasty. Obviously, it's a playoff of that old series called Dunk Dynasty. But today, for our inaugural episode, just to get straight into it, man, wanted to talk to you about. So I know you mentioned that you didn't watch the Last Chance U documentary yet, and I won't spoil anything for you, but I wanted to talk to you about that concept, man. So it follows a coach. They followed him now for the last 2 seasons. The first season it was the COVID year, so they shut them down midway through the season. That team was just beginning to pick up steam. And then this season, they followed them for the full season. But my question to you was, so when a player is highly touted in high school, he or she has some options, right? So obviously you got Division I, Division II, you got JUCO. So what are some of the options that exist for a high school player wanting to make an impact on the next?
I mean, it's a lot of options. Honestly, I mean, prep school when I was coming up was usually the option, the kind of the main option for guys. That's a lot more options now, depending on what you want to do. Like just with my AAU team, like I got a couple kids that's been playing with me for like 2 or 3 years, and now they're seniors and either they feel they're under recruited or they actually are under recruited. And, we signed unsigned seniors. So it's like a lot of teams around the country and locally, whatever it is, it's more options to play and still get visibility in big tournaments when you're an unsigned senior. It wasn't as much. It wasn't that when I was coming. You had to go to prep school, or you just had to figure it out. So I mean, if you didn't have offers, or you didn't have opportunities. That's why I watched the last one. When the kids couldn't play in that tournament because of COVID. And I was real. It was great, but I felt bad for them. But now it's more options. I mean, obviously we got through COVID, thank God. And I think now it's not just prep school. We got JUCOs. We got schools that these kids can get looks, but it's just about being able to be in front of the college coaches and the scouts. So I feel like in a positive way, it's way more opportunities and visibility for them to be in front of somebody that's gonna say, look, we need him, we need her, and it's better now, I mean, it's pros and cons to this AAU and travel teams and all of that, but the pros about it is more ways for kids to get looked at.
So what about focus on one aspect? So one of the things that the coach mentioned in this last series was it's not always good to get, if just because you're being recruited by a D1 team, that doesn't mean that is the best option that you have. And in this case, he was recommending that kid actually go to a D2 school because it would give him more time on the court, more playing time, etc.
Absolutely.
So do you agree with that logic?
I mean, at this point, if you look at the talent, if you look at the guys that have the real motion in the NBA right now, and you look at it, Steph went to Davidson, KD went to Texas, at the time was football school. John Morant went to Murray State,
right.
Damian Lillard, you know what I'm saying? So like a lot of these guys, look at who's the most successful. It's not necessarily come out of North Carolina or Duke. Of course you got like your Jason Tatums and, you got certain guys. I mean, like Jaylen Brown went to Cal. He went to Cal. You know what I mean? So like, it don't really matter. It's kind of like that in football too, right? It's football. I know, big football fan, my Panthers. But Yeah, I beat me the other day. But no, I mean, if you look at it, it don't really matter where you go to school. CJ McCollum is an advocate. He's the advocate for that with the Leon. So it's like, you know, um, it don't really matter. If you got talent, you got talent. So I don't mind. My brother, I wish I could bring my brother in those calls, but he says it all the time. You know, it don't really matter. You don't, people feel like they under recruited, but I'm like, if you got game, you already who you are. My little brother, Grant Williams, went to Tennessee, historically a football school. And you see what he's doing with the Celtics. So I'm like, it's like, I don't really mind that. I always said if one of my sons or my daughter wanted to go to a HBCU or a D2 school, if it was more for education, but if you got it, you got it. They don't get you. It's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like Kyrie Irving could have went anywhere. I mean, he's great enough to go to Duke, but Kyrie could have went to a local school in New Jersey. Was going to be a top 5 pick in the NBA. You got it, you got it. See.
So another interesting point on that, one of the things that this documentary series highlights is in the situation of JUCO is like the last resort. But the other thing that I noticed about JUCO is like sometimes the funding is not there, right? So you'll find that players are living in their cars or they're living with their friends or they're bouncing around. They're trying to find, just to eat, opportunity to eat meals, etc. But don't you think that great disadvantage then in terms of if these guys are like 18 to 20, their bodies are still, they need to sleep right, they need to have the best trainers, etc. Don't you think that kind of stacks the odds against them?
It's a lot of underfunded sports programs around the country for sure. You look at, even with Deion Sanders was saying about Jackson State and going to Colorado. We watched it. He was documenting what he was saying. He wasn't lying about that. It's definitely the case. I mean, you come from a certain neighborhood and go to a $1 billion college, multi-million-dollar college, whatever it is, and you got to focus. You only have your Pell Grant, and you got to get a job in the summertime. That's been going on for years. That's why I don't have a problem with the NIL deals that these kids getting. I feel like it should have been in place, but I'm glad that they had a space now where it's like, just because we give you a scholarship, that's it for you. Everybody ain't gonna play in the NFL, play in the NBA, make that kind of money coming straight out of school. So it should be something in place. And a lot of schools, it's hard for them to fire from them, don't get me wrong. But if you got those boosters that can do that, or anybody that is affiliated with the school that's millionaire people or billionaires, they got to put something in place. And it's got to be money to be made because these guys are literally now, if you on Instagram, you go to school with 1 million followers, you know what I'm saying? Like, based off like Instagram, whatever you do, dunks, whatever you do, any sport you play, and you go into college, you should get monetized off that. You should be monetized. Like, you should get paid for that. And I always stood on that. I always tell people the story. I went to shout out to my office with my close friends and former teammates at Georgia Tech, Rashawn Dickey, and we went to the library one day, and the school library at Georgia Tech, and we saw the jerseys, and they had our numbers. He had number 4, I had number 23, and it was like, hey, we was going crazy. And I looked at the price. I'm like, it's like $75. I don't see nothing like that, but I see my jersey in the stands. You know what I'm saying? And I told him when we got back to the dorm, I said, man, yeah, man, like, we don't get none of that money, bro. We wasn't even thinking about it like that. We just was happy to see our jersey. You know what I'm saying? So I'm pro NIL deals. I'm pro anything where these kids can be monetized, and make money off their likability. So I think it's gonna get even better. A lot of coaches don't like it. It's like 50-50 from what I'm hearing, but I don't have no problem. No why coaches get paid $10 million a year, and they jump ship like it ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? Key. No, you good.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, kids, it's harder for them to. It's easier with this transfer portal, but back then it was harder for you to just leave. You got to miss a year, you know. And it's like coach can just leave and take a job before he even leaves school, and he get paid $8 million, $10 million. You know, so it's like, man, let them kids get paid. May as well.
And that's the argument in the NBA as well, right? Like that's the players deciding their own future or letting players basically join where they want to join or leave when they want to leave. Like that's always the argument, right? That when the team wants to cut ties with a player, all they have to do is trade him, even to a destination he doesn't want to be, or release him or cut him. And normally he doesn't have a say in where he's going, right? Not always. So the player should have that the freedom and flexibility of joining the team they want to join or creating a situation for themselves that they want to create. And that reminds me, man, when I was in college, so I did my master's in higher education leadership, and part of our studies were to learn about just the university system, how it makes money, where it spends money, the legality system of the university. And one thing I remember learning, it's a long time ago, was how much money the universities make from sports. And for a lot of these big universities, you're talking about multi-million, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So knowing that these athletes who are literally breaking their bones, herniating their discs, rupturing, what tendons and ligaments, don't see a dime from that. Obviously, that's not fair, man. And then all it takes is for you to get injured once, and your career could be over. So I definitely see that as a missed opportunity for a lot of these.
Absolutely, bro. And I mean, it's more insurance. It's better now in terms of the technology, in terms of injuries, but 100%, you're right. Because, I look at guys that I'm like, you can get a guy that's top 5 in the nation in high school, come to school, and some tragic happens to him on the court or on the field, or her on the court or on the field, and their career is never going to be the same. We see that all the time, But if I'm in high school and I'm in 11th grade and I have 1.5 million followers, popular, if Bisco comes and says, look, we want you to be the face of this, I'm going to give you $2 million. You should have that option without the NCAA saying why they take money when they was a kid. You got to come to college on a full scholarship, and that's good enough for you. And then when you gone, we don't care. But you better make the NFL or the NBA. That ain't right to me, in my opinion. It don't make sense to me. So I'm like, that's like if my son says I wanna go to art school, and he turns out to be like a baby Basquiat or something. You know what I'm saying? It's like, whoa, why did he take $100,000 from this from this person that wanted him to work for him or wanted him to draw this picture, make this painting? So now he can't go to North Carolina where he wants to major in whatever he wants to major in. Now he can't go to school. That don't make sense. Sure, I mean, you have to have the right people in place around the kids making that kind of money. But like, shout out to like the Ignite, the G League, Ignite. You got guys in there, they don't need to go to college. I'm not saying they shouldn't go, and I'm a huge advocate for education. But if you can get straight to what you're good at, just like baseball, Bryce Harper, these dudes was like 16. Should be able to do that in the NBA. I know you can't do it in NFL because it's different, it's more physical, I get it. But in the NBA, I'm like, who are the best players we've seen in the last 10 years, last 15, 20 years? They might have high school. Kevin Garnett, Tracy McGrady, Kobe Bryant. You know what I'm saying? Jermaine O'Neal. Like, these dudes is like perennial all-star Hall of Fame caliber. Like, it is what it is. So, I'm pro everything for these kids getting paid for their likability. I don't care how old you are.
I just saw, speaking of Jermaine O'Neal, I saw him about a couple months ago. We were playing against his team. It was interesting, man, seeing him in person and how big he is. He's always one of, for me, he's top 3 power forward of his era, right? I think it was him and Tim Duncan before the injuries, obviously before his injuries, but his knee and his shoulder and all that. He was starting to do damage, man. But just seeing him in real life, man, it's just it's next level. You know, it's 7-footer. Still looking good, man. Still look like he could, could play some recreational ball and whatnot. So that's good.
Also, I want to on a couple podcasts. He's still him, Tim Duncan, KD. I mean, KG. Yeah, they ran that era for a while.
Yep. No, man. To get back to your point, man, it's I think that is like it leads to a bigger discussion, which is I think this is why kids are foregoing school. Not even kids who are athletes, but you'll find other kids who are dropping out of school or just finishing high school and they're done, right? Because kids are becoming crypto millionaires, or they became crypto millionaires, or they got into drop shipping, or they got into their side hustle became their main hustle, and then benefits of working on that rather than chasing like a 4-year degree. And again, I'm a big advocate for education as well, but the system is such that if you choose to go to a good school and you're not on scholarship, there's a good likelihood you're going to go into debt, right? You're going to go into $100,000, if not $200,000 of debt. And then after that, you're going to get married, or you're going to find a significant other. Then you're going to have to buy a house. You're going into more debt. So I can't blame a lot of these guys for doing what they're doing, man, and chasing their dreams in other ways. So
It is real. What you're saying is, I think it's honestly, I like I said, like if you're 16, 17 years old, get an NIL deal with any company, you make $5 or $6 million. That's life-changing money for some of these kids. I'm talking about generational for the family. If you know where to put it and how to handle it.
Yep.
So I'm all for that. Like I feel for a lot of the dudes that and women that didn't get the opportunity that these kids get now to do that, based off just sheer talent and like popularity. Like, so the followers, you got 1 million followers and you're going into the 11th grade, and somebody comes to you and say, look, I want to give you this deal because I want your face on it. We're not worried about the NCAA no more. Now it's like, hey, look, you can go to college if you want to. You want the money, you want $2 million or not. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, at least they have that option. So I think that's fair. I like it. And they should be able to do it.
You did like changing more than it has in the last 10 years to become more pro athlete, pros.
Recently, not in the last, I wouldn't say in the last whole 10 years, but in the last few years, it has been. Like, from just watching what's going on. It was just a system where it was like, okay, one player, like LeBron in the 9th grade could have been getting like $1 million a year. Like, for real, like in 9th grade, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's I mean, hindsight 2020 all the time, but at the same time, like Carmelo Anthony he could have been doing, you know what I mean? Kevin Durant, all these guys. But, I mean, it wasn't as much social media and visibility when they were coming up, obviously, and it was nothing like that with Bron and it was coming up like that. But, it's just now if you got the goods, it's up to the scouts. Hey, he can play here. He can play at North Carolina. He can play at Syracuse or UCLA, whatever it is. But at the same time, the boy been getting paid $3 million because who he was in high school and coming up. So I'm all for player empowerment and student empowerment. I'm all for that. I'm always all for that because the school and the program ain't nothing without the student athlete. You got to get them in there. So why shouldn't they get compensated? When they're younger. I don't have a problem with that.
No, I agree, man. I think you brought up got it from their early days. It would have made a huge difference in their personal lives, right? You brought up LeBron, you brought up KD, and their stories and their family stories are very famous, right? In terms of single moms and just working so hard just to make ends meet. So obviously let's say they got $100,000, right? Forget about the million. $100,000 would have gone a long way and made sure that moms is now working 60, 70 hours a week. Made sure lunch and dinner on the table is not, microwavable. There's some fresh food. And again, I think even strategically, I'm just surprised that colleges and high schools don't look into this things because it's even strategic for you to win. You know, you gotta ensure that the kid's getting a good night of sleep. You gotta ensure he's got some good food in his belly that's nutritious. So I'm surprised that they don't even consider it from that.
Yeah, man, I was taking that great money going to get hamburger helper every week. It's real talk. And I'm at Tech. I was at Georgia Tech, you know. But I mean, it just was what it was. And I mean, all of us was like that, you know, but all of us that came from where we came from was like that. But, you know, I mean, just now it's like, I mean, why wouldn't you be pro student athlete? You know, I mean, the transfer portal is kind of crazy just because kids are just leaving because it's not what they want. It's not like, it's easier to leave adversity when you're at school. That's the only thing that I don't like about the transfer portal. Like, they could just say, coach got mad at me, I'm leaving. Like, that's not how life work in general. Like, you need to stay and see what's going on, you know, earn your stripes on everything you're doing. But, you know, with these guys getting paid and these NIL deals, I'm like, look, I'm for it. I think that that's better in terms of recruitment. I think it's better in terms of, you know, kids being able to, you know, financially empower themselves, but it's about the team that's around them, just like anything else.
Well, I appreciate it, brother. I know it's you know, I don't want to take too much of your time, man, but it's always good hollering and speaking to you, man. And obviously, we'll be doing this every Monday. So for everyone that tuned in, I want to thank them. And feel free to drop your comments and likes, and then also do give us some questions, right? And something we can discuss when we're live next week, man. I'll give you the closing word if you want to close out with anything, brother. Otherwise,
definitely. Hey, look, this is the first one, man. Hey, blessed to be able to do this with you, man. You know, I love you, brother. I appreciate, you know, I love what we're doing. I think it's going to continue to build and be even better. Looking forward to talking to you next Monday, bro.